everyone will please stand for an opening prayer and the pledge.
Lord, we thank you so much for today. Lord, we just thank you so much for the city. Lord, we ask for your edge of protection to be over our schools, our children, our businesses, and our community. Our law enforcement, we just thank you for your continued provision for us. And Lord, we just pray that every decision that we make on behalf of the city, we would use with wisdom and discernment and make choices that would bring you glory and honor and praise. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first on the agenda this evening, we've got the consideration and approval of the minutes from last month's meeting. Do I have a motion from the board to approve?
I move we accept the minutes as printed.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next up we've got, we have a planning and zoning update. All right, Kane, will you give us that update?
Good to see everybody. As I stated here, you know, we got a pretty busy night, so I just want to give you a brief update of what went down last month. And Mount Pleasant did get their site plan and conditional use approved. They did add more landscaping up along the frontage as well as the egress ingress for the dumpster enclosure. And we got their parking spaces widened to 10 feet. So they got approved. And then the other one that was on, it was a site plan agenda for the BRH building, and they did add the third handicap spot, and they got approved as well. We're currently waiting on their construction plans for Mount Pleasant and BRH. We've got two build outs about to happen. We got Flying Dollies that's about to happen over there in Building C on Calhoun Station. And then we also got a new golfing simulating training facility about pickleball courts. So it's about to start building out as well. So that's it for the update. Any questions?
Anyone have any questions? Thank you, Kane. So this evening we've got a full agenda. I ask that everyone please bear with us. We're going to start with opening the public hearing for the request for rezoning for the solar property on Stout Road. So has legal.
Yes, I just have a few questions for Mr. Dearman. Mr. Dearman, can you just confirm for me that proper posting and publication was accomplished for the rezoning?
That's correct. In the journal as well as a sign, and the applicant sent out certified letters as well.
All right, and during the pendency of the application and notice period, has your office received any feedback either in favor or in opposition to the requested rezoning, whether that be in writing or over the phone or orally?
We've had one phone call just inquiring about the rezoning.
Do I have a representative here this evening to speak in favor of this?
Yes, we do.
Yes, how are you? So we are proposing.
So for the record, will you state your name?
Yeah, sorry. Get to meet with you guys all the time. My name is Lee Soller, and I'm proposing a baseball facility with indoor outdoor training on this piece of property. And trying to get it rezoned for this, and hopefully some future on the other land. I'm not sure what we're going to do with it yet, but we're seeking to get the 10-acre parcel that is highlighted there rezoned tonight. We were originally going to do the whole 40, but that was a mistake I made when I talked to Kane about it. I think that it might be written up that way, but that's what we're seeking to do with that piece of property. Indoor outdoor baseball training facility.
All right.
And that zone C1A does allow for this as a conditional use, which after this, he's applied for that as well. But all the neighboring properties to the west is currently C2 zones. And that entire area is kind of heading towards a commercial sense. So.
Okay.
So this is just for this portion?
10 acres, yes, sir, for right now.
Not right. Will it be split off as like a separate parcel?
We're gonna make him parcel it out now that he's decided he just wants to do this 10. So he's actually in the process of doing that. And I feel like if we don't get a new parcel ID for it, we can at least exhibit the meets and bounds of this 10 acres for this rezoning.
Does the commission have any other questions? Comments?
I just had one for the city. This is a pretty big, and this is more important if we were talking about the whole parcel, but does the city have plans for any road improvements or road projects out in that part of the city? Anything that we would need to be looking long-term for?
There is a 50-year plan to widen Stout Road. It's definitely a 50-year plan. That's going to happen soon.
Okay.
We are planning to pave it, but we're paving it city limits to city limits. Okay. We're just waiting on the road plan money to be able to go.
Okay, and as far as this plan, does that leave enough room for road widening if that comes down the road? I mean, it looks.
Yeah, there's a ton of
like it's
room.
got enough.
There's a ton of room, and as of right now, if you've been out there, it's treed all along that frontage, and he plans to keep that.
Okay. Yeah, that'll be nice.
Keep that for screening, and don't you agree?
Yeah,
If that
just
road
keep the
widens,
trees.
there's tons of room for him to do that.
And this project has come before the architectural review
The building,
commission,
yes,
and from our understanding, it's not going to be visible.
Correct.
Yeah.
and there is I guess we'll get to that with the site plan and all that. He's got sufficient landscaping added to around the building parking area as well.
Okay. Any other questions?
The other 30 acres, is that just, I mean, I know you said you're gonna leave the frontage on the roadside as far as the trees and everything, but do you have ideas or potentials for the others in general? I mean, just expanding out, making it a bigger outdoor usage, or combining in with other potential recreational type usage, or any thoughts there?
That's been a discussion, and it is an ongoing discussion. Can't speak too much on it right this second, but it's an ongoing discussion to continue the growth of that possibly. If that answers it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Now we'll open the floor for any public comment. Do we have anyone else in favor of this project?
Thank you. I'm Chad Phillips, CPOR. The back end of my property comes up against this, and I think it's a great use for Gluckstadt. You know, we need recreational use for our kids and everything else. I talked with Lee, just maintaining the green space, the trees that are bordering both of our properties. He was amenable to that, so I'm good there. And then as far as light pollution, he'd already talked about, you know, having some lights that are directional opposed to kind of going all everywhere. So those were my only two, you know, points to make the lead, and he already had a solution for it. So I appreciated that. But I'm fine with it as a neighboring landowner. So
Thank you. Thank you. Does anyone else would like to speak?
My name's Paul Clack. I live directly across the street from this project, which I really don't have anything against it. My concern is the light pollution and noise, but, you know, I mean, I really don't have a problem with what they're trying to do here, as long as everything's, you know, above board. I don't have these giant spotlights, you know,
Sure.
on my place.
Certainly.
But that's about all I have to say.
Okay. Thank you so much.
My name is Terry Walker. I live at 126 Planters Road. I appreciate the opportunity to address you guys. I've just had a few concerns about, we live in Rail Plantation, and would be proposed, or soon be going up to Taco Bell.
We're currently
We're on a different project, right?
on the Stout Road project. We'll be getting to that. That's towards the end of the agenda this evening.
Okay, so I need to wait.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Do I have anyone else that would like to speak on this, Stout Road project? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. And, do I have any, recommendation from the commission regarding rezoning this property?
I'll move that we approve the rezoning, to C1A of the proposal, for the 10 acre, 10 acre portion.
Specify the 10 acres.
Yeah, for the 10 acre portion that's shown.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Moving on with that, we'll now open the public hearing for the consideration, I'm sorry, the conditional use for the property located at Stout Road.
And I can present this because it's kind of in line with this. So in C1A, commercial and public sports, indoors and outdoors is required by conditional use. So it definitely aligns with this zoning and what they're proposing is, what is it, Lee? It's about 11,000 square foot building.
Yep, right, 11.5.
Yeah, 11.5. And with the site plan and everything else, we got plenty of parking spots, more than what we need to calculate. And if you go down to the red one, Chris, with the red, there it is. That's the landscaping plan. Of course, the whole front is going to be treed. And he's added shrubs and trees all along the front of the parking as well, coming down by the fields as well. So we do recommend the conditional use for this purpose, and I think it will be a good addition to the city.
Thank you, Kane. Do we have any public comment regarding the conditional use of this property? All right. We'll close that public hearing. Does the commission have any recommendation regarding the conditional use?
I was gonna ask, so, the ARC looked at this, looked at landscaping, is that right?
We're gonna get to that in a second. But yeah.
Well, if we wanted to put something in the conditional use.
Okay.
One thing I've looked at some other facilities around, and some of them have landscaping like in between the, fields, and it looks really nice when you can put some mid-level, medium-sized trees, and they grow up and you get a bit of a canopy in between. I thought that looked nice. I was trying to see what.
Right now, that's a swale. That's where a lot of your drainage is coming through.
Swales. Okay.
Right.
So there was one at Liberty that was set up like a swale. And I think they still were able to do a little bit of
Yeah.
landscaping in the swale.
Lee, would you be opposed to that?
No, no. We're planning on turfing most of it, so maybe the whole piece turf.
Like artificial turf?
Yeah, and just having like a 300 by 100 turf area out there where you can practice and put both fields on at the same time. But I'll work with you guys however I need to.
Okay, so are there gonna be like permanent fencing around the field boundaries, or is it gonna be left open?
At some point, there's gonna be a fence around the facility and the field, yes. I don't know if right immediately it will be, but eventually it will.
And if I remember correctly, these are more practice fields for the facility. It's not really for tournaments.
It's just practice area.
So the kids that are using the facility can be on both fields at both times, that sort of thing.
Okay, yeah, with turf, that would make it a little more complicated. I understand that.
Any other discussion from the commission? have a recommendation for approval?
I'll recommend for the conditional use.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, still on the training facility, we've got the consideration of the site plan, which we've been looking at. Has everyone had a chance to review that? Yep. Would you like to present that?
Yeah.
Yes, one thing I mentioned, at the art meeting, we're still kind of looking at the color combination. I think Lee's brought some.
Yeah,
more up to date.
the girls helped me get this design more in line with what color we wanted to see. So we're gonna take the color palettes of this and make it fit all the building design. This is not the exact building, but it's pretty close.
Is that gray or cream?
It's a natural brick, but it's more like a lime wash. It's not solid, it's painted, but it's better lime wash. Do you mind bringing that
Yeah,
forward?
sorry, it's not bigger.
So everybody
So
can-
that's not the, are y'all using this building?
That's the
Yeah,
building.
That's the building, we have same colors as this building.
Correct.
Yes.
These colors.
Based on some art recommendations.
So
So this has come through the architectural review. And he's made the modifications that were discussed.
Yeah, this is more of a preliminary design, knowing that we were gonna have to figure out which color.
That funnel there with that, like the plantational, like wine setup, is that, I mean, are you gonna have like roll up bay doors or anything to open up the indoor part of the facility or any of those type? Is that?
some of the back.
There's some on the back. I didn't plan on having anything on the front. It's just more for
Aesthetics from the
yeah,
front
the
end.
aesthetic.
Yeah. That makes sense. Just some of the other ones have like the roll doors and the ability to kind of air out and,
Right.
you know, bring natural light and sun and other stuff into it. So I didn't know if you had any on the other side,
It's,
just the cages.
It's a possibility. Casey and I were discussing that earlier today. So we're kind of tossing an idea around of how to make it work with the walls on the inside. It's gonna be a little different in open areas. So
Okay.
just go back on some of the netting. It would have to. It's an option.
And what we can do is incorporate this for the Board of Alderman meetings into the main, get rid of the brown and add the newer colors.
I like it.
Yeah, it looks good.
It's a pretty one. Any other questions regarding the site plan itself? So let's read.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on a different, go back to the red. I'll go back to the red right there.
Yeah, can lift truck access that with the way it was shaped? That was one thing that looked a little weird.
The way it's coming in on the skew.
Yeah, and you need the heavy duty concrete for the lift trucks to be able to come in and get it.
Yeah, that whole corner will need to be concreted in.
You might reposition it.
Yeah, and I don't know if are we right at the limit on parking?
No, per the building, it's about 54, and I think he's at 78,
Okay.
73 spots. So we can get rid of a few spots and make that work. That's something we can get updated before the board meeting too.
We're having trouble figuring out where to kind of hide it, because if I do put an access road for the future use, it's gonna be right on the road on this side. You don't want it by the entrance, then you gotta figure out how to get around.
Yeah, it's definitely a little
kind of a
awkward
tricky.
because you're using both sides of the building. One is your frontage and one is your access to your fields. Yeah.
But it will be closed. It has.
Right.
Blended a little bit.
Yeah, with it covered.
We need to get it fit to where you got good egress and.
Yeah, because if somebody's parked there, you can go.
Right.
Okay.
We can get that modified.
Yeah, we can get it modified and then present it in front of the board. I can even shoot it to y'all once he sends it to me.
Okay. And we're meeting all the criteria for the landscaping and everything.
We are, and the setbacks as well.
Any other comments from the commission? Phillips, would you like to make a motion with
Yeah.
regards to the,
Yeah, I'll move that we approve the site plan, conditional on the, adjustments to the layout for the dumpster being added in for the Board of Alderman meeting, including, rearranging so it has ingress, egress, and the addition of the heavy duty concrete, underneath the dumpster and the lip zone for the truck.
do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, yeah, and, yes, and the addition of the finalized pre-colored drawings, on the official design for the, for the Alderman as well.
Second.
Second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Next up, we're gonna open the public hearing for the request for rezoning for UCR Properties, 158 American Way. Legal has all notices been posted.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'll just ask, Mr. Dearman a few questions. Mr. Dearman, has your office, successfully published, this rezoning in the newspaper and posted on the property?
Yes, we have, and the applicant has also sent out certified letters.
All right, and, during the pendency of the application, has your office received any public comment, whether that be in writing or orally?
Yeah, we had 3 phone calls and, they were inquiring about it, no, not disputing it, just inquiring what the rezoning was for.
Okay. Kane, did you have something you wanted to add?
Well, I was just gonna present it and introduce, the UCR group. I believe they're here. Yeah, how you doing, man? Good to see you. So this is a UCR property, and you've probably seen it before. It's tucked away back there on American Way. And they're asking for a rezoning because, as you can see, it's kind of an odd deal that half of it's zoned I2 and the other half is zoned C2. And I'll let him take over, but I just want to let you know that they completely updated the exterior of this building. There's some before and after pictures as well that they did a really good job. Go ahead, Warren.
Well, thank you all very much for consideration. We are repositioning this property, great property. It's been here for a while. We've renovated the exterior and also the interior. Reason why we're here today is as we're pursuing users in the commercial industry, commercial real estate industry, is they want to know what they can do there. This property originally, I believe, did liquid injection molding process years ago. That has changed, but they still have 3,000 amps of service on the back side of the building from this angle. On the adjacent side, literally on the other side of that picture, we don't have it, but there's a transformer with 3,000 amps of service for industrial light manufacturing. That's what we're looking to do. Good jobs. We're trying to find that user. Why do we want to get the zoning cleaned up? Because if we don't, sophisticated users, people that deal in real estate and manufacturing are going to go, there's a potential quandary here, and we want to kind of just eliminate that quandary. So when we're pursuing companies to move into Gluckstadt, they know exactly what the zoning is, what their use is, what they can actually do. So that's why we're here.
And they're requesting to go to be fully I2 industrial. And go back, Chris, one. As you can see, the area pretty much to the south is all industrial. You've got a little block of C2 and just like a block of I2 right above it. So it's kind of a mismatch of stuff, but a lot of those buildings are industrial in nature in that area.
Do we know why it was split zoned like that? Did that come over from the county?
I think they came over from the county. I went through looking to see if anybody rezoned it like on purpose that way, but I could not find anything of that nature. And I think that's just kind of the way the map fell.
Do we have any other questions?
So no idea on the particular type of production as of now. Just trying to get it cleaned up so you can find the leasing for it.
Exactly. Now, we haven't not been marketing yet, but we get questions. What's the discrepancy? Why is it I2? Why is it C2? So we're wanting to clean that up. So when someone does come to us, we have the full ability to say, this is what we can do. This is what you can do. Does it meet your needs?
Do you have could you give a couple examples of like a business that may have inquired, like the type of business that may come in? You mentioned injection molding, but would it be something else along those lines, or?
That's what we're hoping for. And again, I can't say it, and please forgive me, I'm not a real estate broker. I'm on the development team, not the development team, but the construction and project management side of UCR. So I'm delivering it for them, and they're fielding calls. And again, part of that is what's the objection? It's, if we want to come here, we get into a lease, we go through a significant amount of due diligence, and then our use can't be met. It's an objection we want to stop before we even get to that. So that's it. That's first. If I were to say a particular user, I'd be looking it up.
That's okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Just get your name.
Oh, Warren McConey. That's M-I-C. M-I-C-O-N-I.
Thank you.
So are any of the other adjacent businesses or structures a different zoning?
Yeah, the north and the south are the C2, and the northeast, so the southeast is I2, which is that the horse?
Yeah, the horse, it's really an odd area, to be honest with you. You got R1 tucked away right there. That's and then the red building right here, red top building, I think is actually a daycare.
Right, yeah, due south of this property.
But you keep coming down, you get to Majestic Metals and.
That's Is that Dixie Equine, would that fit under I2, or is that more of like an Act A1?
Which one?
The equine.
It should be A1 or something of that nature, but they've been there.
So it's not an industrial use, even though it's zoned as.
No, sure it's not. It got grandfathered in, and until that changes, we can't really do anything with it.
Can you go back a slide, please? I think it's back.
This way?
Yes, so right there, that little corner across the street with the I-2, come back down to where you were,
That intersection?
you see that intersection right there? Is that I-2?
Yeah.
Is that part of that? Is that part of that I-2?
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that part of that I-2 that's going straight across?
Yes, ma'am. And it might be something we need to get together, kind of clean up that whole area, but that's definitely from the adoption of the original
I was
gas
just
map.
curious, was that gonna be correct? Was that gonna go along with this I-2? That's exactly what it is.
Well, that owner is not proposing it. And Zach, can we grab that little I-2? I mean, to me, that should be C2.
Yeah, because if all the rest of it is C2, and just that little corner there's I-2, can that
There
just
may be
all
some
go
rules
along?
about like dimensional minimums or something.
We would not necessarily, we would still need the consent, I think, from the
From the
property
owner.
owner, but the city can initiate if there's only if they.
Phillips has a point. It's almost
Looks like
as
there
if
was
there was a
an old
definitive,
line, yeah,
um,
that they split on.
Maybe a quarter section.
yeah. Anything else? No? Thank you so much. We'll now open the floor for anyone that may be in opposition of this rezoning. If not, we will close the public hearing and open for discussion.
Okay, I have a couple of concerns. In our ordinance under I2, it gives some kind of explanations on what I2 is for. And if I pull up here, it's the intent that heavy industrial districts I2 should be located as far as possible, or they should always be located adjacent to only C2 highway commercial or TIPS districts, which serve as transition zones between I2 and residential uses. and lower intensity commercial uses. They should also only be located in areas directly accessible to streets, roads, highways designated as principal or minor arterials on the thoroughfares plan. So I think it violates both of those requirements to rezone this as I2. It's also shown as commercial in the comprehensive plan for this area, and we're not supposed to rezone in violation of the comprehensive plan either. So a few issues there that I wanted to bring up for discussion. It's on page 140, at least on mine. That's maybe kind of date there. It's a section, it's in the I2 descriptor section under the purpose of the district. And just looking at it, to me, going C2 purple would clean it up a lot more than converting more of it back to industrial. Yeah, and then where you're having zigzags or stripes of zones. In my mind, that makes more sense. And that would give them, a consistent zone to then go try to lease. And I understand it may not match up with what some of their ideal goals were, what to use it for. And there could still be C2 uses that take advantage of those high transmission terminals, of course, as long as possible. But yeah, I was trying to work my head around what was in there.
Warren is here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess kind of what you're proposing is be an easier route if you went C2, but I don't know if that would align with what y'all really trying to do with the property.
Again, and respectfully, our desire is to market this for a tenant that's going to be able to be in Gluckstadt. Again, as every other real estate firm in the area, we feel that this property, when it was acquired with the amperage, again, we all know the discussions about kilowatts and amperage for all sorts of things, data center related. But this facility was part of that with a significant amount of load or amperage, 3,000 amps, which is not a typical load for this type of building or property. It had a specific use in the past. And so we're just trying to clean it up so we can have the I2, because right now there is a conundrum with half of it being C2 and understanding what the board's saying. But then, there is the I2 as well. So again, we're not asking to go to full C2. We're just trying to clean it up for the industrial use. Again, hopefully for the correct type of tenant to come in, be a partner in Gluckstadt and be part of the community. And again, I don't want to talk about jobs because it's a smaller facility. It's not a massive 200, 300,000 square foot manufacturing facility. But that's what we feel the intended use was. Again, y'all can see the conundrum. So.
Yeah, and I think if it were all C2 and we were trying to rezone to I2, then we'd be denying it off the bat. So the question is, the fact that part of it is I2, does that give us any wiggle room? Because I don't think, based on the way our ordinances are written, the city would intend for this to be I2 going forward. It doesn't meet the type of road requirements. It doesn't have enough distance from residential, which is important for the city in trying to generate buffer zones and keep high traffic industrial uses, on those main roads. And again, we've got a daycare next to it. I think this area, if anything, one thing we have to prove for a rezoning is a change in the neighborhood, change in the nature of the neighborhood and a public need. And if anything, this neighborhood has gotten more commercial and less industrial over the last 15, 20 years, going the other direction, I would think.
It almost seems like the county kind of built in a little intentional ambiguity there.
Yeah, that's possible.
I'm just saying, right. I don't know why else you would do that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I apologize. I'm not from the Jackson Metro Gluckstadt, Madison area, so I can't speak to the past.
Yeah.
So I apologize for that.
That's okay.
Would you like to say something?
And again, you did mention landscape buffer in the ordinance. There's a 50-foot landscape buffer. We want to be good stewards. We want to upkeep, our properties. We want to upkeep things for the neighborhood because obviously we have a vested interest in the communities in the Gluckstadt, Madison area. So again, that is something that is on the forefront of us. Before we do anything, obviously we make sure that's intact. There is a site plan approval process that if we have the appropriate user for the industrial use, we would have to come before the board for that approval. And again, we would always be mindful of that. I mean, again, that's just, it's good business and being a good steward.
So as it sits now, if they brought in an industrial client, they could utilize
How does that work?
it as an industrial, at least a portion of it, right?
Portion of it that's on here, too, yeah, if it's a permitted use and not just
So they put some tape down in the building.
Now, practically how that is drawn out, that's a different question.
Yes, Warren, would you guys be opposed? And I'm just thinking out loud, like, if we bring it to the board and we tell them about the conundrum, would you guys be opposed to going on C2? If that was an option?
I would love to be able to speak for the folks the owners of this property. I don't think I can speak for that with confidence and saying yes or no. I would be assuming and I don't like to think it's not good for anybody.
Right. Do I have any comments from the board?
I'll make a motion to deny the rezoning.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So next up, we'll be opening a public hearing for the request for rezoning for Rand's LLC on Catlett Road.
And Mr. Chairman, while you're making your way to the podium, similar questions as before. Has your office published in the newspaper and posted on the physical property notice of this rezoning hearing tonight?
We have, and the applicant has sent out certified letters as well.
Right, and during the pendency of the application, has your office received any feedback, whether that be in writing or verbally?
We have 4 phone calls inquiring about the rezoning.
And they didn't state preference, whether that be opposing or in opposition?
No, they didn't.
Favor?
Okay, all right.
Yeah, Rand's is here as well, and Rich, you'll come on over, man, but, so essentially they've got 2 parcels on Catlett Road, and they're requesting to rezone from R1 to R2. And they are approaching this as a mistake in our adoption of the Madison County zoning map. A few months before we incorporated, they went through the process with the county and successfully got these 2 parcels rezoned to R2. And I don't know if the city didn't notice that, but it went through the board of supervisors, then it was appealed and they won that, and then it got taken to circuit court and then it was upheld as an R2 zone. And Rich is here, he'd love to present it to you guys, but everything they provided to me, I've confirmed, they definitely went through the process and got it rezoned before the city incorporated.
How y'all doing?
Good.
Rick Eisenberger with Burwell Eisenberger in Madison on behalf of the applicant in this matter, which is Rand's LLC. Y'all have already addressed many items on your agenda, and I know you have more to follow, so I'll do my best to get through this as fast as possible. But there is, a very important procedural history here that we really need to address. So on February 27, 2026, my client filed the instant request for rezoning application related to 2 parcels it owns, which consist of a combined 17.58 acres, which is more particularly described in the application itself. The official zoning map for the city of Gluckstadt currently shows these parcels zoned R1 residential estate district. We are requesting the board approve the rezoning of these two parcels to R2 medium density district based on a clear and unequivocal mistake in the original zoning. You see that? And it's important to keep in mind because we truly are here to discuss one thing tonight, and that's a mistake. Tonight's hearing is rare in that regard, as we need not spend any time discussing changing circumstances or a public need. We ask only that this board consider all the evidence presented and come to the logical conclusion that a clerical error or administrative mistake occurred that led to the city of Gluckstadt classifying these parcels as R1 rather than R2. For that reason, the procedural history and timeline of this property's prior zoning action in Madison County, it's just very important for you all to keep that in mind. First, while the city of Gluckstadt was incorporated as of June 2021, it did not adopt its comprehensive plan and zoning ordinance until December 16 of 2021. Prior to the city's incorporation and prior to this property being incorporated into the city of Gluckstadt, these two parcels we're discussing tonight were already rezoned to an R2 classification. Back on April 1, 2020, Rands filed an application for rezoning with the Madison County P&Z. At that time, property was zoned R1 residential estate district, and Rands requested that it be rezoned to R2 medium density residential district as defined by the Madison County zoning ordinance. On June 11th, 2020, the Madison County P&Z unanimously approved our application to rezone the property from R1 to R2. The minutes confirming as much were attached to our application as Exhibit 1. On August 17, 2020, Rands appeared before the Madison County Board of Supervisors for a public hearing to support its request to rezone the property from R1 to R2. After closing that public hearing and considering all the evidence presented, the Madison County Board of Supervisors approved and granted Rands' application to rezone the property from R1 to R2. A copy of the Madison County Board of Supervisors minutes were attached to the application as Exhibit 2. On August 27, 2020, Mimi Spire appealed that decision to the Circuit Court of Madison County. September 16, 2021, after a lengthy briefing process that I was involved with on Rand's behalf, Madison County Circuit Judge Steve Ratcliffe entered an order affirming the decision of the Board of Supervisors of Madison County, which affirmed the decision of the Madison County Board of Supervisors rezoning these two parcels from R1 to R2. Again, that was September 16 of 2021. A copy of that order was attached to the application as Exhibit 3. Notably, during the entire rezoning application process, including the appeals, Rands was still under contract to buy the property. All that was brought with the permission of the current owners of that property, and the contract was conditioned on a successful rezoning from R1 to R2 to trigger Rand's purchase of the property. So as a result of Madison County P&Z, the Board of Supervisors, and Judge Ratcliffe affirming the rezoning decision from R1 to R2, Rand's closed on its purchase of these two parcels on December 8, 2021. Under its R2 zoning classification. 8 days later, and 3 months after this property had already been rezoned to R2, Gluckstadt's ordinance establishing comprehensive zoning regulations and associated zoning map for the city of Gluckstadt, Mississippi was adopted. The ordinance states that at the time of Gluckstadt's incorporation, Madison County, Mississippi had in place an adoptive comprehensive plan and zoning ordinance which applied to the area that was being incorporated into the city. It goes on to say that the comprehensive plan for Madison County has been adopted with certain amendments by the city of Gluckstadt, and said plan serves the basis for the zoning in accordance with Mississippi Code annotated 1719. And the Planning Commission for Gluckstadt has reviewed the zoning ordinance for Madison County together with certain proposed amendments thereto, and has recommended the adoption of that ordinance with certain amendments. In other words, it was the intention of the city of Gluckstadt to adopt the existing zoning classifications of all property in Madison County as it was incorporated into the city of Gluckstadt, which would have included these two parcels owned by Rands. The only amendments made by the city of Gluckstadt to the Madison County zoning map and zoning ordinance and comprehensive plan were the rezoning of two lots on Gluckstadt Office Park, or excuse me, lot 6 and 7 of Gluckstadt Office Park, which is on Lexington Drive. They rezoned to C2. Ordinance number 2021-4 makes no mention of any other amendments and therefore adopted the existing zoning classifications of all of the real property that came into the city from Madison County. To that end, the city incorporated this particular property into the city of Gluckstadt with its R2 medium density residential district zoning classification intact, which was consistent with the comprehensive plan, which is then adopted by the city of Gluckstadt. However, due to a clear clerical or administrative mistake, whether that was just a failure of Madison County to make a marginal notation on the zoning map, or change the color on the County of Madison zoning map. Regardless of what it was, when it came into the city, the city of Gluckstadt zoning map still shows the property zoned R1. For that reason, Rand's request that this board correct that clear error and rezone the property to its proper and official zoning classification as of the incorporation of the city of Gluckstadt, which was R2 medium density residential district. Now, Mississippi law is well settled that in order to rezone any real property, there must be proof of either one, that there was a mistake in the original zoning, or two, the character of the neighborhood has changed to an extent that justifies the rezoning, and there's a public need that exists. The same standard has been incorporated into Gluckstadt zoning ordinance in section 80603A. Section 80603A defines mistake as a clerical or administrative error. A mistake is not a mistake of judgment. It's a clerical or administrative error, which undoubtedly is what has occurred here. Because there was a clear clerical or administrative error in the city's original ordinance and its zoning classification of this property, there need not be any analysis of changing character of the neighborhood or public need. We're not talking about that at all. We are staying under the first prong of a rezoning application. What is more, Gluckstadt zoning ordinance in this instance does not provide that any future use or conceptual plans be considered in this context. We must only show that there's a clear clerical or administrative error that has occurred. The facts are really simple. Prior to the city adopting its comprehensive plan and ordinance that it pulled from Madison County, Rand's filed its application with Madison County P&Z. Madison County P&Z unanimously approved the rezoning request from R1 to R2. That goes to Madison County Board of Supervisors. We went with a 4-1 vote. That decision gets appealed to the Madison County Circuit Court. Judge Ratcliffe affirms the decision of the Madison County Board of Supervisors. And accordingly, at that time, the property was officially rezoned to R2 medium density residential district. To that end, Rand's asserts that there has in fact been a clear clerical or administrative error evidenced by the city of Gluckstadt zoning map depicting the property zoned R1 residential district as we sit here today. For those reasons, we request that this board find that Rand's has presented clear and convincing evidence to show an unequivocal clerical or administrative mistake, which has resulted in the property currently be depicted as R1 rather than R2, as it has already been rezoned. Rand's further requests that this property be rezoned to R2 as a result of that clerical or administrative mistake. Rand's request is consistent with the comprehensive plan, as that comprehensive plan was adopted from Madison County by this city after this property had already been rezoned to R2 medium density residential district in accordance therewith. Admittedly, there's not an abundance of Mississippi case law on rezoning applications based on mistake. Almost every case you will find in our Court of Appeals or Mississippi Supreme Court is based on change of character and public need. There is not much case law at all that even addresses mistake. So this is a rare occurrence, but it's directly on point for a situation like this. And I'll leave y'all with this quote from our Mississippi Supreme Court in Dix v. City of Vicksburg. The city had the right, indeed the duty, to correct a mistake that it had formerly made. We are asking y'all to consider the evidence presented to y'all tonight and come to the exact same conclusion. We're asking that you correct this clear clerical or administrative error and approve Rand's request, rezoning request from R1 back to what it should have been 4 years ago, which is R2. And if y'all have any other specific questions you'd like to ask, Scott Shoemaker and Steve Rimmer are here. They are the members of Rand's LLC, and they may be able to address those in conjunction with myself. I'm happy to answer any other questions. But for the sake of time, I'll give the floor to them now, and I truly appreciate y'all's time tonight. I know it's already been a busy night for you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You can open the floor if you have any questions, or but you need to open the
Yes,
floor.
you'll have any
to anybody
questions
in
for-
opposition.
Yeah.
So you mentioned so the rezoning was approved. Were there any changes to the actual, the future land use part of the comprehensive plan for the county prior to that? Or when that rezoning was on, there was just an adjustment to the zoning?
It was just an adjustment to the zoning, and they, obviously as part of the change of character public need, they found that the R2 fit and was in line with the Madison County comprehensive plan, which was then intentionally adopted by the city of Gluckstadt. That's right.
Do you have any other questions? Okay. We'll open the floor. Anyone that would like to speak in favor or in opposition?
Thank you all again. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Sure. You state your name.
Good evening, Penny Coulon. I live directly across the street from this acreage. I realize that at some point in time, there are going to be houses built on that. It's just reality. But if I understand correctly, going from an R1, which is 18 houses, to an R2, which is up to 100, the last board meeting, they had stated they were looking at 80. That's 4 times the number of houses, and the infrastructure there, even though Bozeman has been expanded, the roadway, the infrastructure on Catlett still is not there for that number of houses. Within a half a mile stretch, if a half a mile, you have First Colony, you have Stillhouse, you have Lewis Farms. And then if you go further back, for everybody that lives back in Lake Caroline, Ashbrook, and even further back, that has to come either through Catlett or Stripling, mostly I believe through Catlett. The traffic, especially during school year, is just backed up. And in the evenings, even without the school year, traffic heading north, now that Lewis Farms is there, is backed up going south. So you got it in the morning going north, and in the evening going south. So again, I realize that at some point in time, there are going to be houses. That's just reality. But going 4 to 5 times more, that's a lot of houses, a lot of cars, a lot of traffic, a lot of noise. So that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And just to clarify, they're not talking about 80 houses. If you scroll up to their conceptual, at most, we're talking about 43 lots, and they've even discussed decreasing that some too. Scott, do you have anything to say to that?
So at the last board meeting, they had mentioned 80.
That's not part of the plan.
Then something changed.
This is also different.
This is also.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
This is different.
This
My apologies.
this is only 18 acres, so.
Thank
Sorry.
you.
Okay.
Do we have anyone else that would like to speak? Okay. No, then we will close the hearing and open for discussion.
Zach, I have a question. I cannot, I mean, obviously this was years ago. I cannot remember the exact, how it was written or how it was adopted. I know, I remember us talking about an official map, and was it stated that we were adopting the official map that was presented like at the time? Or was it like we're carrying over Madison County map. I cannot remember how it was actually by law, by letter, you know? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I think the intent, I mean, obviously I'm trying to speak for the intent of the board, Mayor Board of Alderman at the time, which, you know, I can't truly speak to their intentions, but what they wanted to do was they take the county map as is with a few tweaks and changes that we made into the zoning map, the zoning ordinance and the comprehensive plan, and then adopt that as kind of a Band-Aid until we can fully adopt, you know, our own policies and procedures and everything. And so, you know, but for the county changing the color of the zone or making a notation, you know, I believe that we would have adopted that zone as it was. So, you know, if they would change the color to R2 on the map, but we adopted the map,
right?
I think that the intention was to do that, other than the specific zones that were changed, you know, in the actual ordinance.
So it was not that the city made its own new map that they were choosing to adopt, and it just happened to be the same as the old map. They specifically said we're adopting this map from the county with these changes.
Yeah.
And just to let you know, so when we rezone, we won't recolor that map until you kind of see that little spreadsheet up top. That's where we write out our rezoning. So the color does not get changed until there's a significant amount of rezoning. So we'll do an update. So right now, and that map actually needs to be updated, we track them by a little spreadsheet, handwritten on one map, you know, so I just, you kind of see, just imagine the county's map with their little spreadsheet, and they're telling how many rezonings were written on it, you know.
And then when, is there like, does that have to go back before the alderman when you recolor it or anything? Or does
Yeah, so what we'll do, I think we've got 5 or 6 total. Lindsay has the actual map, but I think it's up to my discretion. Like, once we get to a certain amount, I'll bring it up to the board. I think it's time for us to update the map, you know, and the board of aldermen will have to say, let's do it, and we'll get a new map printed.
And does that then update on the website map?
It would, which will probably be a little, it won't be immediate either, you know, there'll be a little delay. The GIS seems to always come last, but you can easily see, like, depending on how many rezonings that it could have definitely been overlooked, you know.
And so this is just a rezoning. When they want to come and do the development, they'll come back and.
Correct. They'll have to plat it, which will go through Chris. They'll have to
meet the subdivision.
We'll have to go through architectural, we'll have to go back through you guys, everything, you know. And at that point, we talk about the entrance and green space and detention and the whole 9 yards, but.
So are all the properties around it still R1? Is that correct?
Yes.
So those were R1 with the county and are still R1 with us. Okay.
Still R1. And I don't know, but these are 2 smaller parcels compared to those other long linear ones. Maybe that was kind of the thought behind it, letting those go to a smaller density.
Right, and the city's comprehensive plan does show this whole area as low density, or whatever they call it, residential. Yeah, residential estate is what's in the proposed land use plan. But if there's a mistake, then it doesn't necessarily matter what's in the current plan.
I mean, the documents they provided are true, and it was tested 3 times, you know, in the county level. So,
Do we have any other discussion from the commission?
I mean, if anyone, I guess, is interested in opposing, do we have a reason? Anyone have a reason to oppose it that we would want to discuss? Or we feel comfortable with their explanation?
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's procedural.
Yeah.
I mean, you still make the finding of whether or not you believe that it was a mistake or not. So that is still your decision to make a recommendation of whether or not you all think that it was a mistake, or if it was, it either was a mistake or it wasn't a mistake. That's kind of the question that's being asked with this rezoning. So you still have, you know, that discretion to make, you know, whichever recommendation you see fit.
Is it too late for me to ask a question?
public hearing had been closed, but so I suppose if she has a question, she can ask a question, but if you allow her to ask a question, then I believe it would be then fair to allow Rick or whoever to address that question since the public hearing has been closed.
I'm okay with that, yes.
Ma'am?
I'm okay with that. Do you have a?
My question is, I guess on this is, I kind of wanted to know exactly where that outlet's gonna be, where the housing goes in, and what they're doing for drainage.
Those questions will all be addressed at a later time. They still have to come back for additional approvals before any work can be done on the actual housing. They'll need to be, plan approvals and that sort of thing, and that's where all those issues will be discussed.
Because the drainage and stuff from my pond, which is the pond right there on the right, all drains back across and under the street and into their area over there.
And
So
yes, ma'am.
it's gotta be addressed such that I'm not backed up on my property.
Correct, and those are things that will be addressed. If the rezoning is approved, then they'll have to get renderings and engineering studies done for the drainage and that sort of thing, and those will have to come back before the board at that time.
Okay, and then I guess where it opens up, it's not gonna be directly across from where my property.
True.
So I'm not gonna be a lot of traffic.
Yeah, it'll have to be within that parcel, so it should be in that little gap right there.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
43 Avenue versus 18.
I'll move that we approve the rezoning with the finding that there was a mistake made, in the original map.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next up, we've got the consideration of site plans for the Martin Group and the Gluckstadt Office Park.
All right, over on, Old Jackson Road, we got Gluckstadt Office Park, and they're under construction now with 3 buildings in the back. And they've renovated Randy Tucker's old house there, and Mr. Martin has the lot, the north part of the driveway there. And I think it was last year, they got a variance to, shrink the frontage distance and make it 5-foot setbacks. So this is his site plan. We went through the architectural review, last week, and it was, approved as presented. Granted that we kind of found some parking lot spaces, landscaping interference, so I had Sam go back and figure it out. He initially had some parking along the front of that building there, which was going to take away from his landscaping. So we figured out what the amount of spots he needed, and he only needed a 15-foot yard up front. He's got all the parking on the sides of the building. He's now going to have those shrubs back in front, actually the trees in front of the building now. But it's a 2,100 square foot building that he's going to utilize as his office and 2 other tenants, is that correct? Yeah. And he'll be utilizing the Gluckstadt Office Park existing dumpster. He's got agreement with Mr. Rob Timms on that. Besides that, you scroll on down, you'll see the building elevations. It's a good looking building, all brick. And it's going to be in line with what the other buildings there on the office park are as well.
Okay. You don't have any questions?
My only one was about the dumpster, so if he's got an agreement, then.
Yeah, he's got agreement with Rob, and the dumpster's right there past the property line, so Mr. Martin's office people will be utilizing that as well.
Make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Another public hearing. Okay. At this time, open the public hearing for the request for conditional use for Quiet Waters on Calhoun Station and Stout Road.
Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Has all notice been posted?
Yes, I can ask Mr. Dimon. Mr. Dimon, has all proper posting and publications been met with this property?
We have signs in the journal.
And during the pendency of the application, has your office received any feedback, whether that be in writing or verbally?
We have not.
State your name.
Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Matt Fatart. I'm the real estate attorney for the Quiet Waters Ministry. Our executive director, Marty Quasney, would have been here tonight, but she asked you to excuse her. She had to fly out of town yesterday. Her 13th grandchild was born 5 weeks early, so she flew out on an emergency notice. But otherwise, she would have been here. So please excuse her absence tonight. I'll do my best to fill Marty's shoes and speak for the ministry. We're here tonight asking really for a renewal of our conditional use permit that was granted in the summer of 2023. Because the ordinances don't allow us to seek a renewal, we really had to go through the whole process again. To give you some background, in June of 2023, the city granted the conditional use permit that we're here tonight asking for again, for essentially for the same purposes as Quiet Waters intends to use this property. Quiet Waters is a local-based ministry that serves individuals and families and ministry workers related to special needs and disabilities, physical and mental disabilities. In 2023, the organization known as Johnny and Friends, which is an international ministry that does the same thing, bought this 70 acres at the corner of Stout and Calhoun Station Parkway. Marty, who I mentioned, she used to be the Mississippi and Alabama regional director for Johnny and Friends. And it was under her leadership and vision that Johnny and Friends acquired this property to develop it as you see on the screen in front of you. And that was all in 2023. And we came before the P&Z and went through the process, and the P&Z at that time granted us the conditional use permit to do what you're looking at. That was under the Johnny and Friends banner. Fast forward a couple months after the P&Z approval, the Johnny and Friends corporate office in California, they had a change of heart about the project based on financial considerations. But the local board of Johnny and Friends for the Mississippi and Alabama chapter still had a major passion and desire to see this project happen to serve the area, the community around it. And so what happened is the project was put on hold. Marty and the local board of directors of the local Johnny and Friends chapter, they broke off from Johnny and Friends and formed Quiet Waters. And Quiet Waters is a local Jackson-based ministry that does the same thing just in our area right now. Right now, they're currently operating on the 20-acre Hope Hollow property off of Catlett Road, just below this Lake Caroline spillway. So they've been operating there for the past year, but that property, due to zoning and also just due to the property itself being 20 acres and just it's not a well-suited property to do what they're looking at here. So they bought the they were blessed with a lot of fundraising right out the gate, and they were actually able to purchase this 70 acres from Johnny and Friends corporate in California and took possession of that property, and since then have had the vision to bring this project back and make it a reality. And we're here now to be able to do that. So the Lord's blessed this ministry so abundantly in the last 2 years. A lot of funds have been raised, and so I'm just pleased to be able to come back for you and say that we're ready to re-up our conditional use permit and move forward. I can get into the details if you have any questions about the property. The basis for our request for conditional use, we're before you under section 805 of the zoning ordinance, which is the conditional use section. And under that section, we qualify as a quasi-public facility because we're a nonprofit religious-based ministry organization. And the primary ministry that Quiet Waters carries out is that they're a respite ministry. Now, respite, I'm an attorney, but I didn't know what respite really meant until I started working with them, so I had to go look it up in the dictionary. Respite is defined as a short period of rest or relief from something difficult or unpleasant. And so they provide rest and relief to really their key focus group are the people that serve individuals with disabilities. So your church ministry workers, your parents of those with disabilities, family members, grandparents, you name it. And then they do serve, those with disabilities. Some of the uses that you would see in our community at this property, well, first of all, we would have in the main building, we would have our administrative offices, which would be the headquarters for the Quiet Waters organization. That would be in the main building. And then in the, Ken, if you don't mind going back up to that site plan. Yeah, so in the red building right there, that would have our administrative offices for the ministry. It would also have the various rooms such as arts and crafts rooms, music rooms, computer rooms, a kitchen, a library and reading rooms. It would also have a training site. So people that so my family personally has served in special needs ministry in the past, and it takes a lot of training to actually become qualified to work with these individuals. Personally, the first time I rode a kid around on a golf cart with autism for 2 hours, I was not equipped. Okay, so I needed some training, and those are the kind of training things that will go on at this site. We also will have some day programs where individuals with disabilities can come and build their skills. So, like I mentioned, those music, arts and crafts, computers, the library, that would be focused on that. You'll notice we've got a pavilion at this lake and a zero entry pool. So this pool is a special needs design pool. The barn, that will be a more like a petting zoo, more or less, where a lot of children in particular that are affected by disability have sensory things, and it can be real comforting for them to be with, chickens and rabbits and goats and that type of thing. And then, of course, we'll have a chapel in line with our religious nature. So that's kind of give you a taste of the ministry. Marty would do a way better job than I could do with that. But if there's any questions, I'm glad to answer any questions you might have.
I just want to show you, so what was approved back in 23 was this. Pretty much similar concept, a lot more. They had cabins going down, and talking with Matt, they're not going to do the cabins at this point. And if anything, they might add that up in the future. But also they're trying to reactivate the conditional use so they can go ahead and really put full effort into design. And at that point, we would go through full site plan and architectural and all that good stuff. But they want to get this reactivated so they can really pull a full team in and make this dreams, from what I've heard, happen.
That's right. Yeah, and we scrapped the cabins or camp houses, and I don't think we will come back before you ever asking for that. So we've figured out an alternative for what that was originally going to be, was short-term short-term like weekend camps where parents could come stay a weekend in these camp houses and then attend some training or some respite things, some just being pampered over here just to be rejuvenated. A lot of these parents are just really worn out. But we kind of scratched that idea. We got some alternative things that work better for that are not on site. And so we've kind of actually pared down our usage from what we had originally brought in 2023.
So the conceptual drawing right here that's the current upstate one.
Correct. That's right. And of course, we would come back through the ARC for when we have building plans and are ready to get a building permit. We'll come back through architectural review.
And you do already have the easement for this entrance, correct?
That's right. That's a deeded easement. The easement that you see there is a deeded easement, correct.
And so is the plan to keep the development in this footprint now and not ever extend down below, or
we do have future, we have, yeah, so we do own below, so if you don't mind scrolling down, Kane, we do own that land down there. We do have visions for that future land use, but we don't have anything at this moment,
And that's zoned R1 down there.
Yeah, that is zoned R1. So yeah, the northern part that's in our current conceptual plan, that's a conglomerate of the top left corner of that property is agriculture. The top right corner of that property is C2, and like the bottom like left third of that property you see up there is part of the R1. So it's kind of a crossroads of zoning classifications. But under all of those zoning classifications, we satisfy the conditional use terms.
And the way it was approached the first time was the fact that it's a quasi-public system and you can do that in each zone. So it was much cleaner to go with the conditional use as opposed to trying to rezone each parcel.
And back in 23, we had good neighbor meetings with Panther Creek HOA, which is over to the left, over to the west of us. And it was a very positive, feel good meeting with them. The nearest house on the west side, which is Panther Creek, is by my Google Earth calculations, which could be inaccurate, is at least 1,200 feet away from that chapel. And there's all woods in between. So it's a fully wooded lot to our west. And then you get to their house, which is on the far west of their lot. So it's like 500 yards of woods. And this is not going to be a high noise or high light pollution type property. So we expect minimal impact on the neighbors. And if anything, I mean, there's a strong argument that this is going to be a bright spot in the community of Gluckstadt. So, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have anyone else from the community that would like to speak on this project?
I'm a neighbor right across the street. I've had some really great conversations with Marty. She's a wonderful person. As a quasi-public conditional use for assisted living, I think this pairs extremely well together, especially with adult children with disabilities, aging parents, and everything else. So we've had some good cups of coffee and we've had some good talks. So I'm not opposed to it in any way. I think it's, once again, Gluckstadt having some foresight into something that the state doesn't have at all. And this could be a really bright point for our community. So.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, you go.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and close the public hearing and Phyllis, you go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna point out, I don't think it's an issue because they have this very nice list here of addressing the conditional use requirements, but I think we are supposed to have a full site plan when we approve conditional uses so we can check for ingress, egress, lighting, all that kind of stuff. I know we have the old one, but it doesn't match the new design, so I think I feel okay about it because they do give us this list where they know, how they're addressing each of those, but I know it'd be nice to have site plans when we do conditional uses because we do need to have that to check that they're meeting all those extra requirements. But yeah, I think we're okay here. They do address it in the text, but we just don't get the site plan. And that will come back before us, I understand. So we'll be able to make sure.
Yeah, that's probably my fault. When we looked at it, since it's already been approved once, we just kind of, I tried to get them, I didn't make them add the topography to it and just give me a good conceptual.
Yeah, no, I think we can get a lot of it from that, for sure.
But I talking with them, they're a little further away on the good, true design of everything, so.
Right, if buildings move around and stuff, then we would need to know where they're going before the conditional use is approved, so we can understand and approve that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, we had a meeting with Dell Partners, our architect, and Ron McMaster, our engineer, in January, and I feel pretty confident that this footprint right here is gonna be our final footprint. So, yeah, I really do feel confident about that.
The only other thing I'd point out, this is my day job, so, the lake here, it looks like y'all own the, kind of the southern half there, and then the dam would be that eastern border of the lake there.
Right.
I was just gonna point out, currently there's no development down there. I think it's owned by First Baptist Regional.
Yes, sir.
If development ever comes down there could be some liability for the property owners of the dam, which would be half Joni and Friends and half, First Baptist Regional. If any houses or businesses or buildings got built downstream from that dam, that would be in danger of flooding. So
Yes,
it's something to keep in mind.
We've had conversations as recently as 2 or 3 weeks ago with First Baptist Ridgeland, and Marty has with their executive pastor over there, and trying to be a good neighbor. So anything that comes up with the dam, I feel confident we'll be able to address. Personally, as the real estate attorney, I would love for us to acquire the lake 100%, so we could kind of one entity. You don't ever want to share a roof with anybody. You definitely don't want to share a lake with anybody.
Yeah, I'm with you there. That seems reasonable.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Do you want a motion?
I'll make a motion and we approve the conditional use.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Next up, we've got the consideration of the site plan for the Hederman Brothers, 247 Industrial Drive North.
All right, so we've got a unique situation here. The Hederman addition was approved all the way through last year. And here recently, the design team and the owners, the Hederman Brothers, had kind of a fallen out, and since the design team at that time signed and paid for the application, they wanted their site plan removed. So Hederman has hired a new design team and is presenting the exact same design for a new site plan approval. They're adding on, I think it's 20,000 square foot building to additional warehousing and office space for their operations up there. I think, Doug, hey Doug, how you doing, man?
Yes, how are you?
Mr. Hederman's here today too, but like I said, they went through this whole process just a few months back, and we decided just to run it through everything again to clean everything up. But it's the exact same design, landscape, architectural, and everything. They got more than enough parking spaces. Their setbacks are good.
Drainage was okay.
Yeah, they've added a little retention there. They're not dumping out into the road. Keep going.
Are they gonna be using an existing dumpster, or are they adding a second one? I was trying to figure.
So we have an existing dumpster on site already, and that's what we're planning on doing. However, we do have a pad if we need to add one.
Okay, yeah, I did see the pad, yeah, okay.
And this sitting up against the interstate, the main building backs up to the interstate. This is in between Pine Lake and their existing building here.
And so they own to the property line there?
Yes. Yeah.
And to the east?
We do, yes.
There's actually a pretty good space in between them and Pine Lake.
That's what I was asking. Is there any potential for future development there? Or is that just gonna always kind of be buffer space?
It tended to be buffer, but in all honesty, Pine Lake has inquired about additional parking for their site. And so we would obviously come back through the process if they wanted to acquire some portion of that. But we wanted to keep it as a buffer initially, but they're currently parking in our parking lot on Sundays and the overflow, which is great. I don't mind that at all, but they said it'd be more convenient to their congregation and their members if they had some parking.
Right.
And they asked if that was a possibility, that obviously we'll go through the proper channels and present that. Or we'll let them present that if that ends up being the case.
Yeah, if it had been real close, I would have maybe considered more landscaping over there. And I mean, even with the current design, I could see some benefit of adding a little more, some kind of landscape buffer there on the eastern side of that parking area. And I guess if they're planning to acquire, that would make it even a little more useful to have.
It will still leave a buffer if that's the case. If there is an ever expansion of the building, it will be to the northeast corner behind the parking. So you see the blue building.
Mm-hmm.
It would just be that small block just to the north of that parking. That's where we would consider expanding. My apologies for going back through this process again.
Okay.
Cost issue, sorry.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Good. All right, so we got Taco Bell. We need to give them a call.
Oh, you get them on the.
Yeah, they're all over the country, so.
Okay.
We are going, supposedly, the last time we did the art meeting, the stream could not hear them talk, so we're gonna call in this time.
They couldn't hear us?
They could hear us, but the people watching the stream could not hear them talk. I guess because the stream and that was going. Bear with us 1 second. So I'm dialing it physically from there.
Okay, just keep in mind, so this is so long as the people physically present in the room can hear, that is all that's required, by this law.
Gotcha.
So it's solvable for all the commissioners, for the individual on the phone to be able to hear, and as well as those in attendance to be able to do it.
Thank you, Matt. Oh, we did without you.
Yeah.
Stream is accommodation.
Not recording. We have to, I just have to connect my link.
The person you are.
Let's try the link. It's gonna be your email. I got email. So they can appeal that to the actual airport. So we don't actually make a motion. It goes for 2 weeks. They'll have to work. They can see if they can change their mind. Devin, Albert, are you guys there?
Yes.
Yes, you can. Welcome back. All right, so, board, we, Taco Bell's proposing a 2,200 square foot building right next to Take Five over there on Gluckstadt Road. They have, submitted a full site plan, landscaping plan. And, we recently went through the architectural review committee and we didn't fully get through that, with the exteriors. They did make another attempt at giving us some different exteriors and we've made some recommendations as well. We're more than happy to talk with them tonight on the exteriors, but in terms of the site plan, they've got their parking spots. It's a really tight lot, as you can tell, but the strictest requirement that I could find was where they abut Red Oak over there, and they got to kick it out to 20 feet, and they've added a privacy fence with landscaping screening in that corner as well. And we did have to get them. They had shorter driveways, so we got it bumped up to 26 feet wide for the fire trucks and everything. But in terms of landscaping and the overall site plan, it's a wonderful plan. They've also attached a photometric sheet to kind of show you where the lighting is going to be focused. And I don't know if you want to get down to there we go. So with this plan, they got it really, the lights really focused obviously at the parking spots and building, and down in the southwest corner. You can zoom in there, Chris. They really try to minimize knowing that they're abutting the residential right there, but from 0.3, 4, that sort of thing, to where you get around the building, you see those numbers increase what your lights are. They've got 6 queuing spots, I believe. They're not going to do a double lane for the drive-through. So they're required to have at least 5 queuing spots, and business operations, there's not going to be a 24-hour business. They don't plan on that. And Devin and Albert, y'all jump in and speak to the board.
Does anyone have any questions on the site plan?
I'll just ask, what's kind of the typical life cycle of these Taco Bells? Is it something that, I guess that just gets back to kind of the leasing. Is it kind of, built and then leased back to Taco Bell? Is it, owner operated? And then kind of what's the the timeline and life cycle on those leases and kind of how do those work?
Any other questions on the site plan?
Just to let you know, they're grabbing all the water and they're not gonna dump back into the shared drive. It's coming down. You kind of see where they're at, some riprap in the northwest up there to go back to your left, Chris. Right there. So we're getting back into the yard through a curb cut right there and then into the ditch.
Up there.
Yeah.
Okay. And that,
It's your main site plan, the drainage plan. Let's see if we can get it going.
how does that get across Gluckstadt Road? Is there a sewer that runs, or a pipe that runs to the north under Gluckstadt Road across?
Yeah, I think it's across right there. That's where it crosses.
It runs due north.
Yeah.
So if Gluckstadt Road is curb and gutter, that would have to be rerouted at some point, or is that?
Well, curb and gutter already.
It's already curb, so this just skips that and goes straight
Yeah,
across.
what he was saying, there's a.
Well, it's an open ditch on Taco Bell side.
Yeah, there's a.
With
So
the
it
plan
goes up on the back side.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So if Gluckstadt Road ever widens, they take over that ditch.
Right.
Which would have to be piped in.
How much of the current landscaping or tree growth that borders the red oak is in this lot?
So you're talking about, with red oak. I thought you were talking about T5.
You see this lot?
Southwest.
Yeah, how much of these trees, I can't quite make out the lot line.
Yeah, good. Yeah. So the trees are well, they're essentially, their property lines, those trees are behind the property line. It's only like, Albert, correct me, it's only like 20 or 30 feet of it where it lets that.
So basically those trees are gonna have to be removed.
So,
Yeah. No, I don't think those trees,
Are they all behind the fence?
I think they're behind. Go back to the plan, you can see
Oh, so they're
how
not
little.
going past that.
Right, they're barely,
I'm with you.
I think it's only like 20 feet. See that's the That right there is all they're touching with red oak right there.
Okay.
So those trees are behind their property line. Their dumpster would
Shielded by.
be shielded by the trees, existing trees. So that's why they're adding trees on the fence side as well.
And then they're adding the evergreen trees at the fence line. So those evergreen trees would be right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, what, so they're evergreen, like those little conical shapes?
Those, the needle, I believe, let's see if they've got.
Yeah, they have them on. Let's see.
Can you see we got the thing?
Do we know how far is that dumpster from the first home?
The first home, we can't pull a scale here, but, Devin, do you know how far the west edge of your dumpster is to the fence? No, I'm talking about your dumpster enclosure, the west side of that wall to that neighborhood fence. It can't be more than 20 feet.
Like it's exactly.
Yeah, I think that, because that setback's 20 feet, that curves out to. Yeah.
I've got some concerns, I guess, in general with the use case. I understand it's permitted under C2. And so if we were to find that, or if we were to not approve it, that we would need to find that it was not compatible with existing nearby uses and that it, I don't know where it says it, that it, potentially reduces property values, decreases economic growth, diminishes future opportunities for land use and development. But I looked around at other drive-through fast food restaurants just to compare. And I looked at, as far as I could tell, I tried to find every drive-through standalone fast food business in Madison and Gluckstadt in Madison and Gluckstadt. And I measured how close they were to the nearest residential building, nearest home. And the average for those was about 1,700 feet. And actually the shortest existing building is the McDonald's, the Wendy's in Madison, in Colony Crossing, that is 989 feet away. From the nearest home, the neighborhood to the north, you have an entire shopping center between the Wendy's and that neighborhood. This building, as far as I can tell, would be about 150 feet away. So you're talking 5 or 6 times closer than the next closest fast food restaurant to any residential in Madison or Gluckstadt. It's also the only one that directly abuts residential, obviously based on the distances, but I couldn't find anywhere where we have a drive-through fast food abutting residential in Madison or Gluckstadt. It's also the furthest away from a state or federal highway out of any of those. It's about twice as far from an interstate or a state highway as any other fast food restaurant in Madison or Gluckstadt. It's about 3,000 feet. And that's as the crow flies. If you drive along Gluckstadt Road, it's a little further. But most are like, the average distance is 700 feet instead of 3,000 feet from the interstate or from a state highway. And a lot of them are like 100 feet because they're on the interstate or they're on Highway 463 or Highway 51 on those big interchanges. And so it just doesn't seem to me like the right place to put a fast food restaurant like this. We have an existing building that's been vacant for many years that I'm sure was proposed to them. And I understand if they don't want to take an existing building, but fast food is, I think for the city, it's best to keep it near the interstate. And it's got a lot more compatible uses in that area to be nearby versus moving it. Basically, this is as far away from the highway as you can get on Gluckstadt Road and still be in the city on a commercial piece of property. I looked at the buildings that are around within 500 feet that we would like it to be compatible with per our ordinance. And there are, as far as I counted, there were, pull the number back up. There were, I think, 29 properties that I could count. 25 of the 29 are either residential or C1A. And then among those that were not we had 2 storage facilities that I think are both non-conforming right now, and probably would not be allowed if they were to try to come again. And then we had the pharmacy, which I believe is a C1 use, and then of course Take 5 Oil, which is a C2 there next to it. But the vast majority of the buildings in that 500-foot catchment that we're supposed to consider for compatibility are residential. They're very low intensity commercial. And I just don't find this use to be compatible with those. And I think it would decrease property values and future use for the stuff nearby.
Zach, can I ask a question? Since it is permitted, we're simply looking at the site plan.
Yeah, but and Philip's kind of noted to this, but you're either approving or disapproving the site plan. If you're going to disapprove the site plan, it's got to be specifically tied to one of the provisions that's in 807.01 of the zoning ordinance, which that is, hold on 1 second, I can tell you, excessive dissimilarity or inappropriateness of poor quality of design of the exterior appearance of the structures, prohibited adverse impact to the safety and traffic flow upon public streets, to prohibit unsightly and unsuitable structures that would be out of harmony or incongruent with existing visual features within the district, and to prevent harm to the city which will result from the absence of lowering property values, decreased economic growth, or diminishing future opportunities. So if you make the recommendation to deny the site plan, it's got to be specifically tied to something based on the zoning ordinance. But even though it is a permitted use in C2, it doesn't necessarily, you can still deny the site plan
As long as you have a rationale behind it.
correct.
And I did look at every Taco Bell location in the metro area. There's 13 of them that I counted, I think. And you're correct that several of them are close to residential. And I would say that They tend to be more in like legacy locations or locations where you have a lot of residential interspersed with legacy commercial. I looked at all the businesses that are next to the Taco Bells in the metro, and we have 5 hotels, motels, we've got 3 gas stations, we've got 11 other fast food restaurants, 3 additional restaurants of other types. It's a lot of high intensity commercial use. And if that's what we expect to come next to a Taco Bell, when a Taco Bell comes in, that's what we see at all these other locations. I don't think any of those types of uses necessarily fit in this area. And that, to me, it fits the criteria of our ordinance as being excessively dissimilar and causing those adverse impacts to the nearby property. Yeah, I didn't bother to get the construction date of all the Taco Bells. You're correct. I did not do that.
Well, and I realize it may not be our business risk, being far from the interstate or whatever, but it is still a risk as a community, because if you end up with an abandoned Taco Bell there, like the Burger King, waving at everybody,
Well, and you're driving additional traffic instead of people getting off the interstate and accessing the Taco Bell directly, they're now creating additional traffic, for an extra 3,000-4,000 feet, almost a mile down Gluckstadt Road in front of all these other businesses. It's also in the part of Gluckstadt Road that I don't think contains the turn lane. I think this is right past where it merges. So you're not going to have the benefit of the vast majority of traffic is coming from the interstate to the Taco Bell. They have no left turn lane there. And so anytime someone stops, they're having to wait for 2 lanes of traffic going eastbound to clear to be able to turn into the Taco Bell. And that would back traffic up eastbound on Gluckstadt Road. More than it already is. And that's with almost all locations having turn lanes. The one that does not, the dental clinic and the nutrition place, their people stop there waiting to turn all the time, and they sit and sit and sit until they can get a cleared path. So this would have a similar problem.
That's gonna be afterwards.
I think you must ask the same question.
So, yeah. Has to be afterwards. Okay.
And as you mentioned, the architectural review is still underway.
Yeah.
So that's not been approved as of yet.
Have we presented them? Okay. Do we have any further discussion? The plan for the building has come through architectural review, and we are working with them on some modifications on what has been presented. Do we have the most recent?
Yeah, so this is the most recent, and I've sent them what you guys offered, and I have since gotten a response saying that would not be approved by Taco Bell, what we sent. So, and it would put it, the extra construction would put them out of budget to go with that route. So, Tricia, are you on board here? Or? Please correct me if I didn't say that correctly. Okay, but she did shoot me an email saying they don't think they can go that route. What we offered. And for the board, and for the board, just to realize this is their second rendition. It was more, correct me if I'm wrong, it was very more modern, didn't have the crown molding on top, didn't have any brick. And then they made a good effort to kind of come back to what we're looking at. So this is their second stab at the exterior.
I mean, I love Taco Bell, and I would love to have Taco Bell in Gluckstadt. And this might be the best cost-effective spot for Taco Bell for as business sense, but this is far from the best spot for Taco Bell in Gluckstadt. As far as the community.
Does anyone have any other questions for the team with Taco Bell? In regards to the site plan, do I have any recommendations from the commission?
I'll move that we deny the site plan, based on the requirements in, hold up here, 80701. Yeah, that, it was excessively incongruent with the existing adjacent land uses, and that it would lower property values, decrease economic growth, and diminish future opportunities for land use and development. And I'll refer back to kind of some of the stuff I mentioned before about, this is just not the kind of place that standalone fast food restaurants normally go. And I think there's a reason for that. It's because they do bring some adverse impacts to them, and they're great to have in your city, and there's certain locations where they shine the best. And I don't think this is that. I think this would have too many negative consequences for the city. In addition to the traffic, as I mentioned, with property values, and incongruency with the adjacent uses.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Okay.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And just for everyone, to acknowledge, we are an advisory board, so this will go to the mayor and board of aldermen for their decision. This is just a recommendation by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Thank you to those with Taco Bell. We appreciate your time.
Thank you all.
Yeah, we'll stay on track, Albert, and go on 4/14. We'll still present, and I'll give you a shout later in the week and talk about that process. Yes, sir. Yes. It'll be, yes, I'll get a copy of that too, and it's definitely gonna be minutes. Yes, sir.
Thank you, guys. So for those of you, I know there are people here this evening that wanted to speak regarding this. This wasn't a public hearing, so that's why the floor wasn't open beforehand. I'm assuming most of the public comment is the direction that we're assuming it is, but I'll open the floor briefly. Let's keep it to a minimum. But if anyone would like to take the podium.
And these can be added to the comments, will be added to the minutes, and we'll go to the board of aldermen for their decision.
What are you doing?
Okay, he wants me to do that. That's why I can't.
And
Yeah.
please state your name.
I'm Jim O'Reilly. I'm the president of the HOA at Red Oak. I was looking at the site plan. I've seen 100 of these things. The guy from Pacific, where on that site plan was there any of the mitigation plan or structures to mitigate the light pollution, the noise pollution, and where the dumpster's going?
It's,
Dumpster's right there.
the dumpster.
So is it, I see where the dumpster is, and that's 15 feet from somebody's backyard.
20 feet, but yes.
Okay, 15, 20 feet.
They have a 6-foot cedar wooden fence, and they were gonna plant 4 evergreen little
Needle, tall.
conical
needle
things.
trees.
They grow, they were planting them at 6 foot tall, and they were gonna grow, I think they grow to 15.
Before I get off this, this one's the light pollution. They ran a study, just so you know. So it shows, what their numbers were as far as light pollution, what it was gonna be
Okay.
around the area.
So how tall is the Taco Bell sign?
So the signage is a different,
Oh, I'm just curious.
well, it's a different
The
problem.
sign's 6 foot.
They're not gonna have a freestanding.
Okay, there was a picture of a freestanding, that one right there.
Yeah,
That's for both pickup like for
Okay.
parking spot. I'm getting to the landscape, sorry.
The sign would include.
All right, so when they originally designed this, did they do this based on the roadway as it sits today or with the expansion that's coming in 2 years?
It's,
As it says today.
Okay, so if we actually do it the way it should be done, knowing that new road project is coming in, the setbacks need to be set based on what road is coming, not what's sitting there.
But how do you know when that road's coming?
Because it's already done with the board of supervisors.
they've canceled.
They've canceled.
We had to cancel the grant based off board vote.
That could be 10 years, it could be 20 years.
Yeah.
I really don't know.
So let me ask you this, where do you live?
Out by Deerfield.
Do you have a Taco Bell with a dumpster in your backyard? Would you like one?
It's not my
Okay,
opinion.
so I'll take that as a net.
Sir, if you will, just address your questions to the board, please, sir.
Well, he was answering them.
I understand, but just address your questions to the board.
So one of the biggest problems you brought up, Philip, is there's no turn lane. We already got a problem now in the mornings and the afternoons going into the nutrition.
It's definitely a concern for traffic. And we had that same issue with Take 5, and they noted exactly what their expected traffic was. They have a limited number of people that can run through there. Taco Bell obviously is different.
So what's hours of operation?
They gave us till 1 a.m. on weekdays and midnight on Sundays.
Can y'all adjust that? Because I know the neighbors in our neighborhood don't want, big bumping trucks coming through there at 10 o'clock or midnight on a Saturday.
My understanding is with conditional uses, we can set hour requirements. With a permitted by right use, I don't.
10 o'clock is plenty late.
Does the city have ordinances for hours in general? How late's the Sonic open?
24.
Yeah.
Oh, the Crystal's open 24 hours.
You're allowed.
It's on the other side.
It's allowable to be up to 24 hours, but I mean, you can.
I think the board.
You can approve it subject to them only being up until 10 p.m.
In that location. But once they're approved, like if it's not, you got a conditional use with it. Is there a way to enforce it?
Yeah, I mean, you can still approve the site plan because for one of those issues being, sound pollution and not decreasing property values, you could count it as, we're approving this. Yeah, we're approving this with this condition that you have these limited hours of operation, so it doesn't be, so it's not detrimental to.
And my guess is if we said 10 p.m., that would kill, they wouldn't want 10 p.m.
It's hard to know. But with that being said, we appreciate your comments. We understand that the vote that was here tonight reflected that opinion. So,
We appreciate that.
anyone else?
One of you, I think I agree with what's all been said and everything because the traffic, as all of you very well know, is on Willie McAfee Red Oak Plantation. The traffic is horrible. And if they are ever in that spot over there and everything, with the way the road is right now, it would be really detrimental to people trying to come out of Red Oak because when I try to come out of there, it's horrible because people don't stop to let you out. You just get in wherever you can and everything. And right now, there is no red light, like further down the road, that will stop the traffic and allow you to get out. So therefore, you just sit there, regardless of where whatever time you gotta be wherever you gotta be, you know, and everything. You just gotta sit there and wait and everything. But for that location right there, as previously been said, to me, that's not the right location for Taco Bell. They should consider somewhere closer to the interstate, because all it does is back up everything for people in the Red Oak Plantation and other people down the road from us and everything. And I think, to me, it's just a total bad idea for them to move to that spot. They should consider somewhere else.
Thank you.
And for the record, I got an email today from another Red Oak resident just not wanting this as well. So I'm glad to pass that right out to the minutes.
So, we appreciate your interest in the community, and, again, I think that the vote here tonight reflected your opinions, so. That being said,
So they're going before the city council on the
Correct.
14th?
Is there
We're
public comment as part of that process?
Again, it's similar to, it's the same operation there, you know, except for public hearings happen here, so if it's a notice public hearing, it'll happen here, but if it's site plan approval, that is up to the discretion of the mayor and board of aldermen as to whether or not to hear comments from, individuals, but I have noted their comments, and they'll be attached and, or included in the minutes of this meeting, so the mayor and board will have all these comments, for them with everything they've said.
And I guess any further written comments come in between for that also.
Yeah, well, I'll just track them and add them to the list, you know, before we get to the BOA meeting.
The mayor and board's comments will come after the vote. Their public comment is at the end of the meeting, after everybody's gone through their stuff. So just to give you a heads up, it'll be a pretty late night.
So we load them up with emails saying that we don't want it beforehand?
It's up to you discretion.
and the reason it wasn't a public hearing this evening was because it was a conforming use for that property. So even though it may not,
There's a lot of uses in
there's a lot of
C2.
uses.
I
in C2,
understand, but you know, most places are real proud that they're coming into an area, and they'll put a future home of Trustmark, future home of whatever. Take five, and there's a, you know, they had Trustmark had future home of Trustmark up for months. Okay, it's not, okay, well, if somebody's coming in, why don't they feel proud about coming in and put a sign up saying future home of Taco Bell?
Well, it hadn't been approved by that.
Or proposed site for Taco Bell.
Right.
Cause it kind of feels like they're trying to, you know, slip a fastball by.
Thank you. Okay, so next up, our next regularly scheduled meeting will be April 28th at 6 p.m. Do I have anything, any new business?
Nope. That's it.
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you.